On that second bed sat a music box, the lid open, playing a twisted version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, its melody distorted like a child humming through a nightmare. And next to the box was a drawing. Karen picked it up with shaking hands. Two girls holding hands. One had a big K on her dress, the other a simple S. On the back of the paper, scribbled in red crayon. She said she would come back. The floor beneath her creaked. Karen turned. The little girl was in the room. Closer now. Clearer. This time, Karen saw it. The shadow wrapped around the girl's feet. It wasn't just her sister. It was something inside her, clinging to her, using her. Are you Samantha? Karen asked. The girl didn't respond. Instead, she reached out her small hand, and the walls of the room twisted. Not melted, bent, like time and memory had folded in on themselves. The journal, still in Karen's back pocket, burned against her spine. Then the girl whispered, "Let me in, and I'll show you what he did." Karen's mouth went dry. "Who?" The girl raised her hand and pointed downward beneath the floor, where her father's secrets still slept. The truth buried beneath. Karen's pulse thundered in her ears. The girl's finger remained pointed downward, toward the floorboards beneath her feet, toward the foundation of the house where Elias had died, where the seal still pulsed faintly with Elias's blood and her own. But now, it was more than a chamber, more than a prison. It was a place of answers. "Let me in," the girl repeated softly. "I'll show you what he did." Karen looked down at the doll still clutched in her left hand, its once limp body now stiff and cold. It was a key, somehow, a tether between the past and the present, the living and the forgotten. Her fingers trembled as she turned it over. Inside the hem, behind the stitched lining, she found another scrap of paper. Faded, old, smudged in ash. A map. No, a layout of the underground. In a room that hadn't been marked before. She swallowed hard. Another chamber. Karen looked back up, but the girl was gone again. Only the whisper of her presence lingered, like wind caught in the corners of an attic. By nightfall, Karen had prepared. The journal strapped to her back. A flashlight. Salt. Chalk. A blade. Her hand still bore the healing cut from the first seal. She had wrapped it tightly, but the ache remained, a reminder of her place in this legacy. She opened the hearth again and descended the cold stone steps. The sealed chamber greeted her with silence, but now a new path had revealed itself. Part of the wall had cracked. Behind it, a narrow corridor recently exposed by the last tremor. The air down here was different. Veta, older. Karen pressed forward, deeper into the cold. Then she found it. A hidden door, wooden, rotting, with the symbol of the wardens burned into it. And below that, scratched into the wood, almost like a child's etching. S plus K, 1997. She gasped. They had been down here before. She had been down here before. Her hand reached forward, fingers brushing the door's edge. It opened with a moan, and a wave of air rushed out. Warm, heavy, laced with dust and something else coppery. Like old blood. Inside, a room lined with shelves. Ritual books. Old bones. Jars filled with cloudy liquid. A chair bolted to the floor. And at the center, a crib. Empty. Karen stepped forward, her hand trembling. On the floor beside the crib was a torn photo. She picked it up. It was her father, standing with a baby in his arms. A baby that wasn't her. And on the back of the photo, in her father's unmistakable handwriting, the first vessel failed. The second must forget. Karen's knees buckled. She understood now. Samantha wasn't just her sister. She had been part of something else. A vessel, for whatever was sealed below. And when it failed, when it resisted, they tried again. With her. She stared into the darkness of the room, her body shaking. Her entire life, her entire identity, it had been shaped by something more than grief. It had been shaped by ritual. Then, behind her, the little girl's voice returned. But this time it wasn't cold. It was pleading. "Now what do you see?" Karen turned, and for the first time saw her sister clearly. No shadow, no smoke, just a girl. Broken, forgotten, left to rot in the silence of her father's war. Karen fell to her knees. "I remember," she said. and the walls wept. The cost of remembering. The walls around Karen quivered, subtly at first, like breath caught between sobs. A low hum rose from the stone, not threatening, but mournful, like the house itself was grieving. Samantha stepped closer from the shadows. No longer distorted, no longer masked by smoke or shadow. She looked like a child should, but thinner, paler. Her eyes still too wide, too deep. Not with malice, but with pain. Layers of it. Time hadn't aged her. It had trapped her. Karen reached toward her. I remember now. Samantha stopped just short of her outstretched hand. Her voice cracked, raw and quiet. Why'd he do it? Karen shook her head, voice shaking. I don't know. I don't know why he chose us. Why he didn't tell me about you. Why he made me forget. Samantha's lips trembled. I was scared. I didn't want to be the vessel. I said no, and he locked me away. The chamber trembled faintly at her words. A shelf of old jars rattled in the corner. One fell and shattered, spilling black ash across the stone floor. He told me I was dangerous, Samantha whispered. Said I would open the door. But it was him. He opened it. And when it started calling, he gave me to it. Karen's stomach twisted. The ritual chair. The crib. The scratches on the wall. This wasn't protection. It had been preparation. A failed one. And when I screamed too loud, Samantha looked down. He buried me. Karen's breath caught in her chest. You died down here? No, Samantha said. Something else did. And it stayed. A distant creaking noise echoed through the passage. Karen rose to her feet. Then what are you? Samantha looked up. I don't know anymore. The honesty in her voice was chilling. Then the walls cracked. Not crumbled, cracked from the inside out. Light didn't pour through, but memory did. Visions flooded the edges of the room like smoke. Her father dragging a small body down these very stairs. Elias, watching, helpless, arguing in a whisper, shaking his head. Ritual circles drawn in blood. 2 cribs. One always empty. The journal in Karen's bag throbbed again, and she pulled it out. A new page had appeared. To undo the seal, speak her name. To free the child, offer your place. To end it all, forget again. 3 paths. 3 impossible choices. Karen looked at her sister. If I say your name, what happens? Samantha looked afraid. I don't know. Maybe I disappear. Maybe it comes back. Karen's voice dropped. And if I offer my place? You'll vanish, Samantha said. The seal will take you instead. You'll become the lock. And the third? Karen asked. Samantha's expression darkened. You forget again. You go upstairs, light a match, and burn the journal. You'll wake up tomorrow and think it was all a dream. You'll live, but I'll be trapped again. Alone. Forever. The house was still again. 3 doors. No keys. No guarantees. But only one choice felt like hers. Karen stepped forward, placed her palm to her sister's cheek. You were never a monster, she whispered. Samantha closed her eyes, and a tear traced down her pale cheek. Karen looked down at the page. Then, softly, she whispered her sister's name. Samantha. The world broke open. The name that broke the seal. When Karen spoke her sister's name, Samantha, the very foundation of the house gave a long, hollow groan. It sounded like an exhale after centuries of holding its breath. Then everything went still. No tremor. No flicker. No echo of shadow. Samantha looked up at her, stunned. You remembered me. Karen nodded, her throat tight. I chose to. And for the first time, Samantha smiled. It wasn't wide. It wasn't joyful. But it was real, an expression she hadn't worn since her earliest memory, long before she was buried beneath secrets and stone. But then, from deep within the walls, something moved. It did not shriek. It did not rage. It shifted. Karen turned toward the direction of the old chamber. The seal, the one bound by Elias's blood and her own, now pulsed faster, as if awakening. I said your name, Karen whispered. I broke something, didn't I? Samantha didn't answer right away. Her small shoulders rose and fell with a silent breath. You pulled me out, she said. But you pulled it too. A sound echoed, not from below, but above. The upstairs hallway. Floorboards creaked. Doors slammed. Karen looked up. That wasn't here. No, Samantha said. It's not in the basement anymore. They rushed back through the corridor, the old walls seeming to twist behind them, as if time itself was folding inward. As they reached the base of the stairs, Karen paused. Something had changed. The steps were covered in ash. And up top, beyond the hearth, darkness. Not the natural kind. Not shadows. Absence. Karen climbed slowly, flashlight trembling in her hand. The house above was no longer hers. The furniture was in the same place, but scorched, charred, as if it had just been pulled from the fire that consumed it all those years ago. Karen turned the corner into the hallway and stopped. The walls were covered in drawings. Hundreds of them. Crude, childish, smeared in ash and something darker. Each one showed two girls, one tall, one small, standing in a house surrounded by eyes. No faces, just eyes. Some crying, some watching. And in the center of every page, a door. Karen turned back to Samantha. You weren't just locked away. No, Samantha said. He tried to erase me. But I remembered. I remembered everything. Even when you forgot me. Karen gripped her arm gently. Then let's end it together. But just as she said it, every door in the house slammed shut at once. The house roared. Samantha screamed, her body flickering, phasing between solid and something not human. Not whole. Karen pulled her close. No, you're staying with me. But the journal in her pack burned hot again, nearly searing through the cloth. She tore out, opening to the newest page. This time, it was not her father's writing. The name has been spoken. The walls will fall. The soul must choose, stay and be hunted, or return to ash. Karen looked down. Samantha was fading. No, please stay. But Samantha just looked at her with tired, tear-filled eyes. I want to, she whispered. But I'm not all me anymore. The darkness that had once slithered in the walls was inside her. Not fully, but enough. The seal hadn't just held a monster. It had tried to make one. And Karen had let her out. The final choice. Samantha's outline flickered in Karen's arms, like a candle struggling in wind. One moment solid, the next a blur of smoke and static. Her skin was growing colder, her voice softer. I'm not all me anymore, she said again. When he locked me down there, it got in. And now that I'm out, it's free too. Karen clutched her tighter. No, we can fight it. We still have the journal, the rituals. Samantha shook her head. You don't get it. There's no ritual for this. I'm not just possessed. I'm woven. Suddenly, the house groaned again. But this time it breathed. Karen turned as every window in the house blew open at once. Wind screamed through the halls. The air turned black, thick like fog, but it didn't enter from outside. It was leaking out from the walls, from the floors, from the very structure itself. The eyes from the drawings, every one of them, began bleeding ink. It dripped down the plaster, forming words that pulsed like a heartbeat. Choose. Karen stumbled back, shielding Samantha as the air filled with whispers. Hundreds of them. Samantha's voice, her own, Elias's, her father's, layered and overlapping. Seal her. Save her. Forget. Remember. Trade. Run. Samantha dropped to her knees, clutching her head. I can feel it. It wants to take me, what's left of me. Karen pulled out the journal, pages whipping from the wind. The final page was no longer written. It was a mirror. And in the reflection, Karen didn't see herself. She saw her sister, sitting in the ritual chair again. Eyes wide, skin gray. And behind her, the door in the basement. Still pulsing. Still hungry. Karen's hands trembled. And then, beneath the mirror page, 3 words burned through like a brand. You must choose. She knew what it meant. Option 1. Seal Samantha away again. Bind her soul with a new ritual. Make her the lock, as her father once tried. The thing inside her would be trapped, but so would she. Option 2. Trade places. Offer herself, Karen, as the vessel. Samantha would live. But Karen's soul would be chained to the door, body lost, mind eaten piece by the ancient shadow that had been waiting for years. Option 3. Let it finish. Let Samantha fade. Let the bond break. Let the shadow roam. Risk the town, the world, for a chance that her sister might finally be free from everything. Samantha looked up, her voice barely audible. "You don't have to do this. I'm already mostly gone." Karen knelt in front of her, touching her cheek. "You're not gone. You're my sister, and I won't leave you again." Tears streamed from both of them, and then Karen reached down, took the blade, and whispered, "I choose me." She pressed the knife into her own palm and walked toward the hearth, toward the stairs, toward the door. Samantha screamed, reaching after her. "No, don't. You don't know what it will do to you." Karen turned back with one final smile. "I'd rather lose myself than live without you again." And she descended. As the door pulsed open for the last time, the willing vessel. The descent felt different this time. Karen's footsteps on the cold stone stairs echoed louder, each one like a drumbeat counting down to something final. The air wasn't cold anymore. It was alive, charged like the static before lightning. Behind her, she could still hear Samantha screaming from the living room, her voice cracking, part human, part not. "I won't let you. You don't understand. It won't stop." But Karen didn't stop. She reached the bottom of the stairs, where the sealed chamber waited. The symbols carved into the ground, once faint and dying, now flared with angry light. Red, then violet, then a pulsing black. The stone door, cracked by past failures and sealed by Elias's blood, now stood wide open. Behind it only void. But the void had eyes. Dozens. Watching. Blinking. Waiting. Karen stepped into the circle, her cut palm dripping blood into the center. The moment it touched the floor, the seal reacted violently. Arcs of light burst upward like veins seeking her spine. The darkness beyond the door shivered. "I'm here," Karen said into the silence. "Take me. Let her go." A deep, inhuman voice rippled through the chamber. Not a sound, but vibration inside her skull. "You offer freely." Karen nodded. "Yes." "Why?" She didn't hesitate. "Because I remember her, and no one else ever did." The ground rumbled. A shape began to form in the darkness, tall, shifting, cloaked in layers of smoke and history. No face, no arms, only mass. An ancient presence, older than the seal, older than her family. "You do not fear me?" it hissed. "I do," Karen said, "but I fear forgetting her more." The entity paused. It reached toward her, not with hands, but with threads, strings of memory. They wrapped around her arms, her chest, her eyes. And suddenly, she was 5 again, holding Samantha's hand in the closet. The smoke creeping in. The heat. She was 8, sitting alone at the table, asking why there was an extra chair. She was 14, crying in the night and not knowing why. She was now standing before the thing her father had feared, willing to give herself up. The threads pulled tighter. "You are not what he was," the voice said. "He fed us lies. But you..." It paused. "You offer love." Then everything exploded, but not in pain, in memory. Visions burst through Karen's body. Her mother's lullabies, Elias's final words, her father weeping over a crib, Samantha singing a nursery rhyme in the dark. And then nothing, just stillness. When Karen opened her eyes, she was lying in the circle. The seal had gone silent. The door was closed, and beside her was Samantha, alive, breathing, whole. She looked down at Karen, eyes wide with disbelief. You didn't vanish." Karen tried to sit up, groggy, trembling. "I was willing. I saw it," Samantha whispered. "It had wanted you, but then it let go." Karen looked toward the door. The presence was gone. Banished? No. Appeased. A willing sacrifice, given not in fear, not in ritual, but in love, had broken the chain. Samantha touched her sister's hand. "Does this mean it's over?" Karen looked at the door one last time, then the blood-soaked seal. "No," she whispered. "It means we bought time. The house remembers." The house was quiet when Karen and Samantha emerged from a basement. Not peaceful, not healed, just quiet, like it was watching, like it knew. Karen moved slowly, every muscle in her body aching from the ritual, her mind heavy with the fragments the shadow had shown her. Her sacrifice hadn't ended anything. It had delayed it, rewritten the terms. For now, Samantha walked beside her, silent, barefoot, her small hand gripping Karen's tightly. Her face was pale, but human. No flicker, no static, The smoke that had once clung to her like a shroud was gone, but something still hung in the air. They stepped into the living room. The walls, once bleeding ink, were now blank. The drawings had vanished. The eyes were gone, but something new had taken their place. A mirror, large, oval, hung above the fireplace where the family portrait used to be. Karen frowned. That wasn't there before. No, Samantha said softly. But I've seen it. In dreams. Karen approached it slowly. It wasn't cracked. It wasn't dusty. It was perfect. A flawless reflection. Too flawless. She saw herself in it. And Samantha behind her. And then, someone else. A man. Standing just over her shoulder. She spun. No one. Her breath hitched. Samantha saw it too. I think it's watching us. Karen turned back to the mirror. The man was gone. In his place, words etched into the bottom frame. The house remembers. Her stomach twisted. What does that mean? Samantha whispered. Karen shook her head, stepping away. We need to leave. They grabbed what little they could. Karen took the journal, though it had gone blank since the ritual. Samantha found her old doll in the hallway, sitting upright again, its stitched K looking brighter now. As they passed through the front door threshold, Karen felt resistance. Not from herself, from the house. Like it didn't want them to go. Let's go, she whispered. We kept the bargain. The pressure eased. They stepped onto the porch, the morning air sharp and clear. The forest beyond looked the same, but different. The trees stood straighter. The wind didn't whistle. Everything was watching now. They walked down the steps. Samantha turned around one last time. The front door slowly closed behind them. And in the upstairs window, a silhouette. Just standing. Still. Watching. Karen took her sister's hand again. We don't ever come back. But even as she said it, the house began to change. Subtle at first. Its paint lightened. Its roof repaired. Its steps stopped creaking. It was resetting. Preparing. For the next one. Because memory doesn't die. It waits. It followed. Karen and Samantha didn't speak much during the first days after leaving the house. They stayed at a motel 3 towns away. An old roadside place with flickering neon and rooms that smelled faintly of bleach and old carpet. But they didn't care. For the first time in years, maybe in their whole lives, they were together. Alive. At night, Karen would sit awake, watching Samantha sleep, listening to her breathe just to prove to herself it was real. No flickers. No whispers. No black veins curling from the walls. But on the 4th night, it changed. It started with the radio. The small, dust-covered one on the nightstand between the beds crackled to life at 2:13 a.m. Static humming low, steady. Karen sat up fast, her heart in her throat. She reached for the knob, but before she could touch it, a voice whispered through the speakers. Very softly, Samantha. Karen froze. So did her sister, now sitting upright, wide-eyed. She turned the knob. The voice stopped. Just silence. Karen unplugged the radio completely. But she knew what this meant. It had followed them. Not all of it. Not the door. Not the chamber. But something. A sliver. A shadow. A whisper that had slipped through when the seal was distracted when Karen made her offer. A seed cast into the cracks of the world. The next morning, Karen found her journal lying open on the motel room desk. She hadn't touched it in days. The pages had gone blank after the sacrifice. But now one line had returned, scrawled in fresh black ink. You broke the chain, but didn't burn it. She slammed the journal shut. That night, she had a dream. She was standing outside the old house again. But it was no longer old. It was perfect, painted white, flower beds blooming, the porch light on, and at the window, a little girl waved to her. It wasn't Samantha. It was her, Karen, as a child, inside the house, calling to herself, trapped. She woke with a scream, sweat soaking her skin. Samantha sat at the edge of the bed, pale, shaking. I saw it too. They knew what it meant. The house didn't need a location. It needed a memory. And Karen still carried too many. Samantha reached for her sister's hand. What do we do now? Karen looked at the horizon through the window, sun just beginning to rise. We run. We warn. We find anyone left from the wardens. If there's even one alive, they'll know what to do. And as they left the motel that morning, the front desk clerk called out to them. Hey, forget something? There was a package for you. Karen turned. A brown box sat at the counter. No name. No address. Inside, wrapped in linen, was a mirror, oval, and at the bottom of its frame, scratched into the wood. The house remembers. Karen didn't scream. She just whispered, "It's not over," and walked out the door. The one who remembers. They didn't go far, not because they weren't ready, but because the house didn't let them. Karen and Samantha drove west in silence, the rental car rattling slightly on the old highway. The rearview mirror had a crack they hadn't noticed before. Karen couldn't stop glancing into it, not at the traffic, but at the empty back seat, because 3 times now she'd seen something sitting there. A figure, silent, motionless. It never stayed long, but always looked like her. Not how she looked now, but as a child, wearing the same dress she'd worn the night of the fire. It always faded as soon as she looked directly. Samantha saw it too. She said nothing. They stopped at a gas station outside of Evans Creek, a dusty little town tucked between 2 dead highways and a shuttered train depot. Karen had circled it in the journal days ago, back when the pages were still blank. She didn't know why she had marked it. Now she did. Someone here remembered. An old woman stood outside the station's convenience store, smoking a cigarette with hands that shook but eyes that didn't. She stared directly at Samantha. Karen felt it instantly. This woman knew. They approached her cautiously. Karen held out the journal. "We're looking for someone," she said. "Someone who might have known Richard Bowen or Elias." The woman's cigarette paused midair. "You're Karen." Karen blinked. "Yes. I dreamed you'd come," the woman said. "Not you alone, but with her." She looked at Samantha now, and her eyes filled with a strange mix of awe and terror. "I was a warden once," she said, flicking her ash to the dust. "A small one. A keeper of records. But when the house went dark, we thought it ended. We hoped it ended." She stepped closer. "But it never ends, does it?" Karen's voice trembled. "No. I broke the chain, but I didn't burn it." The woman nodded grimly. "Chains can be reforged. And memories. Oh, child, they build new doors." She led them behind the station, down a gravel path, to a small steel trailer. Inside, boxes. Shelves. Books older than either girl had seen. Symbols everywhere. Carved. Burned. Inked into leather. "I kept what I could," she said. "After the collapse. Most of us scattered. Some disappeared. A few joined it." Karen looked up sharply. "Joined it?" The woman nodded. "Some people don't want to forget. They want to belong to the thing that watches. They call themselves the Hollowed now. You'll know them when they smile without eyes." Samantha stiffened. Karen felt her hand grip tighter. "Why did you keep all this?" Karen asked. The woman didn't answer immediately. Then she whispered, "Because one day, I knew a girl would walk through fire and choose love over survival. And that girl would need more than a memory. She'd need a weapon." She handed Karen a sealed wooden box. Heavy, marked with the warden's crest. 3 circles joined by a single line. "This," she said, "isn't for killing it. It can't be killed. It's for binding. For containing what leaks when people forget too much and remember too late." Karen opened it slowly. Inside, salted iron, old relics, a shard of black glass, a folded veil of woven ash, and a name, stitched on a cloth ribbon. Samantha Bowen. Karen turned to her sister. "You were never meant to be erased," she said. "You were meant to warn." Samantha looked at her, tears in her eyes. "Then let's finish what they couldn't." The old woman gave one last nod. "Go to the house." "Not the old one. The original." Karen's heart dropped. "You mean?" The woman pointed west, toward the hills, where the first door was ever opened, where the warden order began, where the thing first whispered. She lit another cigarette. "And if you go there, don't knock. It already knows you're coming." The last door. The road twisted westward, the air growing colder, drier, quieter. Karen and Samantha sat shoulder to shoulder in the front seat, the wooden warden box resting between them. The sky had turned a deep shade of gray, like the sun was watching from behind a curtain, hesitant to witness what came next. Neither sister spoke. They had nothing left to say that wasn't already understood. They were not just survivors. They were the last. The map from a journal had led them to a forgotten valley between 2 dead hills. No homes, No birds, no power lines. Just a winding dirt path and the quiet pull of something ancient. At the end of the path stood a house. Not broken, not ruined, just waiting. It was smaller than the one Karen grew up in. Simpler. Stone walls. No porch. No windows. Only one black door. It stood open. Samantha stepped out of the car first. The air buzzed with a low hum that made her skin rise in chills. Karen followed, the box in her arms, her legs trembling. They stood together before the entrance. Inside, it was endless. No furniture. No walls. Just blackness, stretching like a void that swallowed even sound. Karen opened the box. One by one, she laid the warden relics at the threshold. The salt, the shard, the veil, the name. Then she turned to Samantha. You don't have to go in. Samantha looked at her. I do. Karen nodded slowly. I'll be right behind you. But they both knew that was a lie. Samantha stepped into the darkness. Karen reached in her pocket and pulled out the final page of the journal, the one she hadn't read until now. It hadn't appeared until this morning. Her father's writing, his last truth. The door cannot be closed from the inside. It must be guarded from without. Karen swallowed hard. She laid the journal at the foot of the door. Then the mirror, the one from the motel box, shimmered in her hands. She raised it up, catching her reflection, and saw herself as she truly was. Tired, scarred, whole. She set the mirror down, facing the open door. And then she stepped back, just one step. Samantha had vanished into the dark, her job to bind it from within. But the house, the doorway, it needed a sentinel, someone who remembered, someone who would never forget. Karen sat down before the door, crossed her legs, and breathed. For the first time, she felt peace. Behind her, the wind howled once, then stilled. And slowly, the door closed. Not slammed, not sealed with chains. It simply shut. Click! The wind stopped. The silence returned. And far beyond the hills, the world continued to turn, never knowing how close it had come. Not that it mattered. Karen remembered. And as long as someone remembered, the door would stay shut. The end.